Nimic, așteptăm. Good morning, Michael. Do you hear us?
Yes. Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you again, and we're happy we have you as a special guest, virtual guest, for 24th anniversary of Atlantykron.
My pleasure.
We are here, so Søren Ivanovic and also Heather Cotton. You know Heather, right?
Hi, Michael.
Yes, indeed.
Great to have you with us tonight.
And also you know very well Gabi Bolsan, which is our coordinator for virtual guests.
Hello, Michael.
He's the man who makes it all happen.
Yeah. And don't forget, in the front of the camera, I don't know how much you see, but in the front of your camera, we're around 300 people on this small island nearby the ancient city, which is called Capidava village, Capidava, in the middle of the Danube. On the maybe someday
I see a lot of them. Hello, everyone.
Aplaudă.
So I understand that you have a short presentation for us. Then we have prepared some questions for you from the public. We are ready to display the slideshow whenever you are ready.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's get started.
Okay. Now it's the slideshow is displayed. Innovate like Edison is the first slide.
Very good. So yes, I want to talk about the genius of Thomas Edison, and then I want to relate a little story I'm going to tell you about Edison to your own ability to set goals for your own personal and professional life. So the first big question we should all think about when it comes to Thomas Edison is, what was his greatest invention? The light bulb. Well, that's the #1 answer around the world. Now, the truth is that other people had invented light bulbs before Edison, but their light bulbs didn't work very well. Edison was trying to figure out how to make the light bulb safe and how to be sure that it could be usable in people's homes and businesses around the world. 1 year before he got the light bulb to burn for 13.5 hours safely, at which point he knew he could illuminate the entire world, the head of the British Royal Institution of Science, which at the time was the premier scientific organization in the world, said, "Practical incandescence is utterly impossible." 1 year later, Thomas Edison got the light bulb to burn for 13.5 hours, and a year after that, the whole world was illuminated. Now, as great as this invention was, it wasn't Edison's greatest invention. So maybe you think perhaps it was the phonograph. Yes, Thomas Edison invented the phonograph. So before Thomas Edison, if you didn't attend a presentation or a speech or a musical concert, you could never hear it. Recorded sound, which we take for granted today, is only about 125 years old. Oh, it's Thomas Edison. But it's still not his greatest invention. So then you think, okay, how about the movie camera? Yes, Thomas Edison invented the movie camera. He created the world's first movie studio. Now, where is the world's first movie studio? Is it in Hollywood? No, it's in New Jersey, United States, where Thomas Edison created it about 110 years ago. So here's Thomas Edison. He illuminated the entire world. He invented electric lighting. He invented the recording industry, the phonograph. And he invented the movies. 3 of the greatest innovations in human history. But those are not his greatest inventions in my perspective. My suggestion to you is that Thomas Edison's greatest invention is the process of systematic innovation. Edison was the first person to figure out the idea that we take for granted today of research and development. And he then came up with the brilliant idea to link research and development to production, manufacturing, marketing, and sales. And in the process, he created what he called his invention factory. And Thomas Edison had a great goal for his life. He wrote down his own vision statement for his life, and he said that his goal was to bring out the secrets of nature for the happiness of humanity. And if you think about it, that's exactly what he did. I mean, light makes us happy, doesn't it? Listening to music makes us happy. Going to the movies makes us happy. Edison was a genius at making lots of people happy. At the same time, he was also a very good businessman. He was a scientific genius and a business genius. Edison wrote, "Anything that doesn't sell, I don't want to invent." He said, "Sales are proof of utility, and utility is success." So Edison was very practical. He wanted to make people happy. He wanted to make things that were useful. And he wanted to make things that would therefore be successful business-wise around the world. So you're probably thinking at this point in your life, what are my most important goals for my life? How can I achieve my most important goals? And when you go into the workplace, if you company at any time in your life or any organization, they're going to make you set every quarter. That's just something that every organization does. They ask each person to set goals because that's how organizations work. That's how success happens. You set a goal and then you either achieve it or you don't. It's one of the first principles of success is knowing how to set goals. So if you want to learn how to set goals, I think Thomas Edison's a really good role model. He's a really good example of how to set goals since he created 3 entirely new industries, made billions of people happy, changed the world forever, and resulted in vast fortune for himself and many of his colleagues. That doesn't sound bad, does it? So I'm going to share with you Thomas Edison's goal-setting strategy. So if we could put up the SMART slide. So these are some initials to help you remember some of the principles of goal setting. And the first one is SMART. You want to be smart when you set your goals. And what that means is that you need to make your goals specific. That's what the S stands for. General goal doesn't do you any good. It has to be specific. Why? That's where the M comes in, so you can measure your progress. The A stands for accountable. That means that you are responsible 100% for achieving your goals. No one's going to do it for you. The R stands for relevant. And what that means is that you shouldn't set a goal unless it's really relevant to what's most important to you in your life. In other words, to your higher sense of purpose, just like Thomas Edison's higher sense of purpose was to make people happy by bringing out the secrets of nature. So then when he set a goal to illuminate the world, it was relevant to his purpose, which was to make people happy. And the T is really important. The T stands for timeline. And what that really means simply is that you have to set a date for the achievement of your goal. A specific date. Because if you haven't set a date, you have not set a goal. You're just daydreaming and fantasizing. You're not goal setting. So for example, I set a goal. I'm working on a new book. And I set a goal to finish it by January of 2014. I wrote that number down. And the only problem is I finished it now, so I'm 6 months early. So I want you to think about your most important goals in your life right now, and think about, is my goal specific, or how could I make it more specific? Do I have a way to measure my success? Have I taken responsibility? Am I accountable for the achievement of my goal? Is it relevant to my purpose? And when am I going to achieve it? What's your goal? Maybe it's to finish university. Maybe it's to do a particular accomplishment in your studies. Maybe it's to become a PhD or a doctor or whatever it is you want to do. By when will you do it? Write this down. Now, the SMART principles are essential elements of setting a goal. They are necessary, but they're not sufficient. In order to really make your dreams come true, you need some other elements. And when I was studying the interviews that Edison gave about his success, it became very clear to me the key principles you need to complement the SMART approach. So then I was trying to think, how could I help you remember those principles? And then I came up with another acronym called Edison. So let's go to the next slide. This is the SMART Edison approach to achieving your goals and realizing your dreams. The E in Edison stands for emotional. And what this means is you have to set your goal with your heart, with your gut, with your passion, and not just with your mind. You have to set the goal that's based on what is most important to you. Why is this true? Because when you set goals with the more superficial part of your mind, when you do something just because someone else tells you you should do this and your heart isn't in it, the truth is you don't marshal enough of your 100 billion brain cells to accomplish it. You have to get your goal into the limbic system of the brain so you remember to actually do it. The emotion, passion is most important. The D stands for decisive, and this is a very, very important principle of making your dreams come true. And it's simply this, that if you decide you want to do something, you have to decide 100%. You know, Edison didn't say it would be nice to illuminate the world. I'll try to illuminate the world. It would be cool to illuminate the world. Edison said, I will illuminate the world. He decided with 100% commitment. Now, the hard part is to decide before you can see how you'll get there. Maybe you have a dream that seems, just so ambitious. You don't know how you're going to do it. Commit to it anyway. Because once you make the commitment, you start to marshal your 100 billion brain cells to figure it out. Now, the I stands for integrated. What integrated means is, think about your whole life. When you set goals, think about the different areas of your life. What is your professional goal? What is your personal goal? What are the things you want to learn? Where are the places you want to travel? What is your goal for your spiritual life, for your inner life? Think about your life in an integrated way so that your professional ambition is in harmony with your personal goal, just for example. The S stands for sensory, and what this means is to set goals with all your senses. So imagine the achievement of your goal. I was telling you about my goal of writing my book. And whenever I set a goal to write a book, I set a timeline, and then I imagine the finished book. I imagine holding it in my hands. Here's the copy of my Edison book that I wrote many years ago. And I imagine the feeling of holding the book Even the smell of the pages when it's new. And then I imagine handing it to somebody who I want to read it. And I imagine the feeling of satisfaction that I have when it's completed. And I do this at the very beginning of setting the goal. So the more senses you bring to your imagination of the goal, the more you remember, the more you align your passion with your goal. The O stands for optimistic. And without optimism, there is no goal achievement. If you don't believe you can do it, it's probably not going to happen. Magic isn't going to happen. Now, being optimistic doesn't magically make things happen, but it makes it possible for things to happen. And the studies by Dr. Martin Seligman and many others show that optimists get better results in their lives than pessimists. Optimists outperform the scores of their aptitude tests. Pessimists underperform the scores. Optimists make significantly more money in the course of their careers. Pessimists make a lot less money. Optimists don't get sick as frequently. When they do get sick, they recover faster. Pessimists get sick more often and take longer to recover. Now, if you're a pessimist, you might be really depressed at this point because you're losing money, you're underperforming, and you're getting sick and you can't get better. But the good news is, Seligman's book is called Learned Optimism, and optimism is a skill you can learn. By training yourself to do what Thomas Edison said, which was to always look for opportunities in every situation. The N stands for now. What this means is, whatever your biggest goal is in your life, use today, right now, this very moment, to commit to making it happen. So what I think would be a great thing for everybody to do right now is talk to someone else, find a partner, and talk about the most important goal in your life right now, and then consider how you could apply the smart Edison principles to making your goal a more powerfully set goal. Why don't you do that right now, and then I'll also take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Michael.
So everyone is talking about what their most important goal
Gabi?
is right now. To your neighbor, what's your
Yes.
most important goal?
Gabi.
Talk to your neighbor about it. And think about how we might be able to use this SMART technique and the Edison technique in accomplishing this goal. Michael, this is fabulous information. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
And I think that we do have a few questions for you. So one moment.
We're going to invite some of our participants in front to address you some questions, if it's okay. Anka or Daniela?
Hello.
Your name?
My name is Daniela Ionescu. I'm a psychologist. I'm a member of the Complexity Studies, the Center of Complexity Studies. And about light, we have a question about spirituality, actually, in a specific context. The man lost his landmarks now. What can determine an individual to take a spiritual path? And I understood that you took a course with Mr. Bennett, a direct disciple of Mr. Gurdjieff. Maybe you can give us a flavor of his presence, and maybe you can tell us about the relationship between the three brains intellectual, emotional, and body, and brain.
So can we just say that question in a briefer fashion? I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Can you give us...
You want to know about the relationship between
the three centers?
Reptilian, mammalian, and neocortical brain?
The three brains about Mr. Gurdjieff talked about. You took a course with Mr. Bennett.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding the question.
Okay.
Can you email it to me?
Okay. But if you can tell us about the spiritual path, if it can enlighten us to find our landmarks. Do you understand? Do you hear?
I'm only hearing every third word, and it's not quite clear what the question is.
Mr. Gelb, good evening. My name is Anka. I'm from the Center for Complexity Studies. I have a friend who doesn't want to come in front and ask you a question, and she did ask me to answer you for her. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay, so it's related to the Edison technique. So her question is, being a medicine student, her question is how to set smart objectives when, for example, you need to be very competitive. You need to be very competitive at work. For example, you're a surgeon and you want to be the best in your field, and then maybe you're a woman and you want to have a family and have a happy personal life. How to do this?
Yes.
Thank you.
No, that's a great question. That's why the I in Edison integrated is in there. Because when you're setting your goals, you have to try to set them for a balanced life. So that you can, it takes a lot of creativity to figure out how to be top level in the workplace and have a happy family life. That's true. It's probably more true, more challenging even for women than for men, but it's challenging for everybody, both men and women in the world today. Which is why, and there's no simple, easy answer. The important thing is to think in an integrated fashion and think optimistically about it. If you say there's no way I can do it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy and you will be right. Your life will not be balanced. It doesn't mean that just because you think, okay, how do I balance these two things, that you magically get the answer. No, you're going to have to do a lot of creative thinking to get insights as to how you can find that balance, and the circumstances are different for each person. I'll give you an example. In my own life, I try to balance my very busy career and travel all over the world and writing books with my wife's life. She's an opera singer and she travels all over the world, and she's very engaged and wants to be the top mezzo-soprano in the world, which I think she's pretty close to being already. So if she just pursues her dream and I just pursue my dream professionally, we never get to see each other, and then that's the end of our relationship. So we sit down and we make mind maps together about where we're going and how we can coordinate to travel, even for a short time, to the various places where our partner is traveling. So I recently flew to be with her. I flew from Switzerland to New Orleans, and then another time I flew from Rome to Detroit, and another time from Sydney, Australia to Santa Fe, New Mexico, so I could hear her sing and take her out to dinner. And the result is we're living happily ever after, but it takes a lot of creativity and a lot of planning and thinking, which you're going to have to apply in your life if you want professional success and fulfilling relationship too.
So in order to, if I may continue, and I understand we don't have much time, so we need to end. So basically, in order to have a happy, fulfilling, smart life, you need to first find the right person and think creatively together in order to, let's say, be successful on these two levels, which are very important.
It definitely helps to find the right person.
The right person, and do your thing until you find the right one, correct?
But the only other thing I'd say is, I reinforce the importance of optimism in all of this. Because if you don't believe that you can be happy, you won't be. If you don't believe that you can be successful, you won't be. Now, belief alone is not enough. But when you have the belief, when you have the optimism, it wakes up your 100 billion brain cells and starts to focus them on creative solutions to the problem. And your brain is designed by millions of years of evolution to be the most profoundly powerful creative problem-solving mechanism in the whole universe. And optimism, belief in possibility, is what unleashes that power.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gelb. We were very happy to have you here with us at Atlantykron. Thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Michael, just 2 seconds, be online. Sorin speaking. First, because we want to have a nice pictures with you on the screen here. If you kind to move the camera to see you better. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And secondly, I want to tell you that I receive questions about your books. How to think like Leonardo da Vinci, innovative like Edison, and brain power. We mentioned about these books already this evening. And my question, do you think that can be possible to have maybe in the future these books published in Romanian language? You are interested in a kind of cooperation with Romania?
Absolutely. Let's figure out who should do it in Romanian. The books are in a number of Eastern European countries. Okay. They're in 25 languages. I don't know if we have a Romanian edition, but if we don't, we certainly should get one.
You don't have. But what I can promise you that I will put you in contact with one of the biggest published house in Romania. I don't give the name now, but I will put you in contact with, it's a good friend of mine. And I'll be more than happy to see that your books will be in Romanian language.
And maybe next year I'll do this in Romanian.
Next summer I'd like to have you also in live here on the island. And God
that
help
would be
us.
fun.
Okay, thank you again, Michael.
Let's think creatively.
Thank you again. And have a nice day over there.
Thank you, Michael, from all of us here.
Heather speaking.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Mișu, cine cântă acum? Este pe aici? Domn profesor, mai stăm 2-3 minute.